If you've seen my video on Gemini or through some other way stumbled upon the project, so the Gemini protocol, you might wonder how do you actually host your own Gemini site, or Gemini capsule as they're called. And this is what I want to show you in this video. So this right here is the provisionary page for my own Gemini site. So if I, for example, follow this log link, I get taken to this index page, and I will show you how this is all, how this looks all on my server, and how I actually serve this Gemini site. Alright, so I will switch to my server here, and I have tried out a bunch of Gemini servers and tried to get them up and running. So if I list this, so there are like 6 different ones I tried out, and most of these I had problems with and I just couldn't get them to work. So, but this one, gmnisrv, this one works for me, and it's also very nice because it's very light on dependencies. So if I switch to my browser, to my web browser, you can see the source file for it. So this is the Git project, and I mean, it says here this project is no longer maintained, and I will get to a few fixes I did to get this up and running again. But yeah, I don't think this is a problem because Gemini protocol is very simple. And yeah, so dependencies very light, C11 compiler and POSIX-like system, OpenSSL and Mailcap and scdoc. This is, I think, for man pages, for generating man pages. Build process is also very simple. I don't know if this prefix thing is necessary, but I'll go through it in a second. And the config file is also super simple. So, but I'll go through all of it. So to build this thing, so again, this is the project. First, you need again 2 dependencies. I just assume you have like GCC or some C compiler installed. So I have collected them here. So on Alpine, you just need to run apk add mailcap and OpenSSL dev. So this is again for, well, TLS, and this is for like MIME type, automatically like serving MIME types. So what kind of file the server is actually serving. Alright, and if you have these installed, you can create a new build directory, and I will just call it build new, then cd into it, then call this configure script from the parent directory, and I will not do this prefix thing because I think this is only for like installing it, because yeah, I don't know, I just I don't really like to run install scripts when all I want is a single binary, you know what I mean? But I mean, you can do it, you can just follow the official instructions if you want to, of course. Just add this prefix user to then make it automatically install in the corresponding directories, and also automatically install the man pages and whatnot. But again, I will do it like this. And if I now run make, it will actually make this project. And as you can see, there are not that many files, actually. Like there are like under a dozen, I think. And yeah, then it links it, and there's the binary, gmnisrv. So this is the final binary you can actually run. And if I now run this with, for example, -h, it will tell me the usage. So you can just run it as is, or you can also specify a configuration file. And I'll get to the configuration file in a second, because if you now run this like I just did, I should have mentioned this in the beginning, you will run into some problems, because this, again, is no longer maintained really, and the last commit is like 2 or 3 years ago. So you will run into SSL problems, and 1 or 2 other, I think. So what I did is, and let me status that, I changed some files. I changed log.c, tls.c, and url.c. And if I run git diff, you can actually see my changes. So okay, this log.c change, this is not necessary. I just patched out the logging of IP addresses. I might patch that back in, but I patched it up for like testing purposes. So this is now actually important, because this is about generating TLS certificates. And because this was made with an older version of OpenSSL in mind, this doesn't work anymore. So let's see so this whole procedure here, where it generates like an EC key and does all this stuff, this is not needed anymore. So I commented it out. So I commented this whole block out. So this is a comment block. And how you do this, like how you do this like with the newest version of OpenSSL, so I think that's version 3.0.0 or something, you do it like this. And I just got this off some Stack Overflow post, I don't remember which it was. So I just pasted it in here. I hope this is secure. hopefully. And yeah, now it works. And in url.c I needed to patch 2 calloc calls because I don't know what's wrong here, but these arguments are the wrong way around. So I fixed it. I just swapped them. And the same thing down here as well. I swapped this one with this size of struct thing. And yeah, this was it. These were all my fixes. I might put this somewhere on my website. Maybe in the video section I will put this diff or something. So you can also diff this and make it yourself. Okay, so you have the binary, or we have the binary in this build new directory. What I then did is I just copied this in user, not the directory, this binary of course, user local bin, and yeah, so here it is. So this is the same file. Alright, and I also copied the default init file, because if you look to this directory in this page again, or also in the main page, you will see this example init file. And so for this I set it up like the following. I created a new group. So if I search for group, so I added this gmnisrv group for, well, a group, and then I added the user. Where's this? Yeah, add user. It's a system user. It has no password, I think this is for. It has no home directory. I would actually change this if I would do this again, because I'll get to that in a second. It has no default shell. It has the group gmnisrv, and the name of the user is the same. So we have the group, the user and the group. And then I created this directory var lib gemini. And in here are now 3 things. The certs. This is initially an empty directory, the init file, and then a directory for my website, or for my Gemini capsule, rather. So if I now look at this init file, you can see it, and it's pretty short, because there are only really 4 things. So first we need to specify where the server should listen. It should listen on all IP addresses and on the default Gemini port, and for IPv6 the same. Then we specify where the certificates are stored. And I initially did all of this in var www Gemini, but I changed this to var lib Gemini because that's nicer. So let me actually delete that out. So this is the directory for the certificates. Then we can have some optional details for certificates. I just left it at default. Then I commented out this example.org thing and created a new section for my own website, of course. So this is my domain, and the root directory is this right here. So this var lib Gemini and then my domain. So, and let's try to quit that. And if I again look at cert, you will see, well, the certificate files. And if I look at my website, you will see the actual files that get served by the Gemini server. So index.gmi, if I open it up, you will see that it's the actual content that gets served, and this is now in gemtext format. So this is a heading, level 1 heading, and this is a link. And yeah, that's really all there is to it. If I wanted to edit something, I would just add it into this thing. So we could, for example, have, I don't know, ASCII art here, or some code or something, and this would then be displayed in pre-formatted text. Or we could have, what other link types are there? List 1, or let's just do it like this, and then 2. And I mean, this in this terminal client I'm using GMI, it's not really displaying it as anything special. So if I quit that and I go up, so yeah, ASCII art is actually pre-formatted text is displayed in green, so this is nice. And the list, okay, so it is displaying it kind of in a special way because it has these dots here. So you can see it's actually working. So this is also reflecting my changes, of course, I just made. And if I now go to log, I will be taken to this log index file. So I have a directory log, and if I now, not vi that, but ls that, and let me make this a bit cleaner. We have 2 files in here, the index file. So this is the file that actually gets served when you go to the directory itself. And then an entry file, so entry 1. And if I go to entry 1 now, it will show me actually the contents of entry 1. So, well, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. And if I go to entry 2, it will not show me anything. Let me go to log again, and then entry 2, because I don't have it will actually crash because there is no entry 2 file. And yeah, I mean, yeah. Oh, one thing I totally forgot to mention, I should have mentioned this earlier before I was actually showing you that it worked, was the service file. Because you can, of course, run this, so you can do user local bin gmnisrv and then specify your config file and whatnot, but this is annoying because you don't have to run it in like tmux or a screen or something like that. And also with the user setup I showed you, this is not possible because you can't log into the gmnisrv user. So what I did is I created a OpenRC service, and if you're on Alpine like me or on Genti, you will have OpenRC. If you're on something different, you of course have systemd, and you will have to create a systemd service file. So it's in etc initd gmnisrv, and if I zoom out a bit, you will see the whole thing. So, and I copied this from the MADI, from my MADI file, so you can still see this MADI thing. I can actually delete that. So again, name, okay, description, okay, the command it will actually run, so this is the path to the binary. The args it will pass, so this is the -C for configuration file, and then the path to the configuration file, because by default it will look into etc gmnisrv.ini, I think it is. Alright, then the command user, this is gmnisrv and the same. So this is user and group. Then some depend, yeah, I just copied this. So it depends on like the net, so it needs like internet connection, and also it only starts after firewall and whatnot. And then before it starts, it also checks for the right permissions of run/gmnisrv. So yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward. If I now actually like check status, you can see that it's actually running. And if I stop this should now also like make it impossible to reach my site. So yeah, it's not responding because it's not running. Who would have thought? And if I start again, this will of course work again. Oh, how nice. So yeah, this is, I think, really clean, really minimal, and really nice. And I mean, let me also say this. gmnisrv, it's probably pronounced gmnisrv, right? But gmnisrv has has like, so if you go to docs and you actually look at the documentation for the init file, there's actually a lot of stuff. So if I go down here, there's actually like routing with regex, because maybe you've seen the regex file, and you can actually like specify regular expressions in your routing. So you can, for example, you can not only have a domain in these angle brackets, no, what I call like in these brackets, but you can also specify like a path, or you can specify like a regular expression. So for example, you could, in this case, so what does this do? It's for, okay, example.org, and then, okay, if some file is requested that ends in PNG, JPEG, or WebP, so an image, you should serve foo.png and bar.webp. So again, I've not gone through this exactly, so I don't know what this comma syntax is. Or maybe it's look for foo.png, and if you don't find that, look for bar.webp. So I guess that is what it is. And all this kind of stuff. So again, you can do a lot of stuff with this. And I think it even has CGI support. So it supports a limited version of CGI. So you can have like dynamic applications with this. So yeah, this is, I think, really nice. And it sets a bunch of variables and whatnot. And yeah, I think you can actually do a lot of stuff with this. And with this, again, you can have dynamic applications. So this would actually like allow a user to enter some data. In this case, he entered for the variable hello, he entered the world, I guess is what that means. So yeah, but yeah, that's the server. That's how you can set up your own page. I mean, it's very straightforward. It's way easier than like the normal web, of course. You also don't depend on third parties because you self-sign your certificates and you generate them yourself. And yeah, it's just very nice. Again, I will leave a link to this project and also a link to the diff of my changes. I will link this on my website and in the description. I won't link yeah, I'll do it some way. You'll find it if you want to. And yeah, I mean, again, there are also like a lot of other Gemini servers, and probably also ones that are like faster and have more features and whatnot, but I really like this one because again it's so low on dependencies. I mean, you have a C compiler installed probably, and OpenSSL is, well, that's just, you need that in any case, and then Mailcap, like that's it. Like there are no other dependencies, no like heavy, you don't have to install like the entire Go library or the entire Go toolchain or the entire Rust toolchain just to install this thing. And you can actually compile it from source and adjust it and fix stuff if errors occur, like in this case they did, and so on and so forth. So again, it gives you actually the control to do this stuff yourself, which I think is the whole point of Gemini. Alright, so I will set up my own page. Of course, I will actually populate it with like content and whatnot. And yeah, I will probably also adjust my static site generator to also be able to generate like gem text. So I can have like one source of truth kind of for my website, which, so I can like write my stuff and then it automatically formats it as HTML and gem text, but I'll look how I do that and when I get to that. And yes, so I hope this was useful to you. If you want to like create your own Gemini site, I think it's very nice and it's very easy because you can just write your stuff without having to like deal with a lot of stuff that HTML and HTTP kind of forces you to deal with. So yeah. Alright, that's it. Have a nice day.